When it used to be, you go up here to this town of Beallsville, I see lots of people up there on a Saturday night. Now then, it's just, might as well say, a ghost town. Hardly see nobody on the streets. Well, just took all the good boys away from town, I guess, out of the community. I think there's hardly no young boys around here no more.
When I first opened this thing up, it was nothing to have all four tables go at one time. And matter of fact, they'd stand in line to get to them. There was that many young boys in the community, and they'd come from all over this school area, you know, in here. And at night, especially at nights, and on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, well, it was just like a madhouse, you know. And it was really something. That all come to a screeching halt right quick.
I can remember right after Jack's funeral, this one man said that someone said, well, maybe that's, you know, it's going to be it. And this one man said, it's not all over yet. And now there's been 5. He was the first one. And he said, it's not all over yet. Now it's 5.
They were not unique, nor was their sacrifice. They went to war because their fathers and their fathers' fathers before them had gone to war, and because it was their duty. And in doing so, they died. To a nation numbed by the weekly 3-digit death toll in Vietnam, their deaths may have scant significance. But for the 450 inhabitants of Beallsville, Ohio, the burden of their loss cannot be measured. To understand the agony of Beallsville, to feel the acute conflict between its sense of patriotism and its sense of pain, to hear of the hopes and fears and sacrifices of 5 young men, and to look into the faces of their families and friends, is to recognize the universal tragedy of war and the universal triumph of the human spirit.
Wanting to join the reserves, and he wouldn't do that. He said he wanted to go get his 2 years over and, you know, get out. Told his mother not to worry. He'd be back. He liked it here. He liked to work in the orchard, too. He was going to help me, and well, he was figuring on building a house on the place here when he come back. So that all had to fall through with. It was a big shock, I'll tell you. Only son, only child we had.
Rick's brother, Randy, and myself, and Jack were the 3 from the county that left for the service the same day. And Randy and I didn't seem to be too leery about it. We were kind of feeling maybe it might be a new experience, you know, but Jack, he never said much going up or back and down at Fort Jackson. Before he was ever assigned it, he felt that he'd probably go to Nam, you know. He just was awful leery and tight about it. He was all tense inside, and after a week or so, the sort of suspicion maybe that he'd end up there and maybe never make it back before I left and gone on to Fort Gordon. But I can remember getting a letter from my wife, and it was real thick, and I opened it up, and there it was in the headlines. Well, I cried the whole time I read it. It tore me up. I couldn't make the funeral or anything. But then when the Greenlee boy died, it was what, about a month or so after that he got killed,
Yeah, it's about a month.
I got another letter,
Yeah.
and before I ever opened it, I suspicioned what it was. And I opened it up, and it was Dwayne, which is another real good kid that worked his way up to what he had and what he had got to.
It's quite a shock for me to get both those letters right at the same time. I mean, pretty close to each other because I mean, all of us were in the infantry over there. I mean, we all were on operations about the same time, and fighting was pretty thick. And then after those two, I didn't quite know what was going to happen to me. I got really scared after a while.
Like Richard Rucker said, he was so scared over there that he knew when he was going to get it.
He said he didn't want me to take him to the plane when he went to Fort Lewis, Washington. He flew from Columbus, Ohio. And he said if I took him, he may not get on the plane. And he didn't want to go. But he did. A lot of battles he did, but you fight so many battles continuously, it's bound to happen sooner or later. You're just not going to go through them all, something that's impossible. There was no chance. The odds are so very great. He wanted to get out of the field some way. He said his luck had run out. He had too many close calls, and he just had to get out of the field to live. But they wouldn't give him no consideration. He just kept on fighting. He fought to survive. That seems to me more than I can see than anything else, patriotism. But he fought to live. He didn't make it. He would have been 21 years old at the 28th of September, and he died on Memorial Day. I was very proud of the boy and close to him. It's the best thing in life I've ever had. And he was a very good boy and a very clean boy. And he didn't smoke or drink or anything. And he led a very clean life, and you could trust him with anything, anywhere. Well, he was just a country boy. He loved Beallsville. There's no place in the world like it. Well, he always called this the world. He says, I'm coming back to the world. And he did all he could to live. And couldn't.
I got catcher. I got
Yeah, in the bigger city, you may live by your neighbor for 20 years and you never know him, you know, or you never see him. Well, that's not here.
We're sort of like, I guess you would call one big family. We know one another, we get acquainted with one another, and people are friendly in this district. And when anything happens to somebody in, family, why, it kind of hurts you too, because you feel so well acquainted with them.
When this Lucas boy got killed, it was more of a tragedy than the rest of them, in my opinion, because he had brothers and sisters that were still in school, and this affected more people through these children.
It's just killing off the best boys in the country, and it's a restricted war. They won't let them win the war and come home. It seems to me like that we're involved in this thing to be prolonged and just keep it going and going and going. Then they talk about that this is America's finest hour, that even told the veterans in Vietnam that this has been said to them. And where in the world a man would come up with something to make a statement like that, I'll never know. I just don't believe that. But it was made. I heard it.
No, I just let one day take care of the next, I guess. Just go from day to day, the way I feel about it. Told her the other night, what do we got to work for anyway? Kill ourselves, working, and what? Nothing for it. Don't get nothing out of it. I used just everything we had, that's all. My wife is worse on her yet, I believe. She really took it hard.
They say time heals, but it's been 3 years, and it seems like it happened yesterday. When you lose your only child, you lose everything you got. If I had to do over again, and I knew that if I'd have known at the time that they was going to bring him back like they did, they'd have taken him over my dead body. He'd have never went. Because you're left, we're just left without nothing. Well, he's our only thing that we had to live for. I mean, you live for your grandchildren, you live for your children, and when you get our age, why, you mostly look forward to grandchildren, which we know we're never going to have. I can't see where this war's accomplishing anything. It only made heartaches here in this household. And what can you do about it? You're just a small person from a small town.
There is nothing anyone can do. It has always been that way. It will always be that way, so long as there are wars and the need for men to fight them. In Beallsville and in the cemeteries of every city, town, and village across America, the ironies of war and the sad coincidences of time are written in flesh and grief and stone.
And so once again, oh, America, my friend. And so once again, you are fighting us all. And when we ask you why, you raise your sticks and cry, and we follow, my friend. How did you come to trade the fiddle for the drum? You say we have turned like the enemies you've earned, but we can remember all the good things you are. And so we ask you, please, can we help you find the peace and the star? Oh, my friend, we have all come to feel the beating of your drum.
Even after all these boys have lost their lives, I still don't think there's one boy out of 50 that would actually do anything to get out. That'd be about the ratio, I'd say. If there's one boy got out of it, the other 49 would probably go, willingly go.
Now when you get that ball, tuck it and sprint. Tuck that ball and sprint. Go.
There's been people here interviewing boys several times, and I've never heard one of them yet say that he wasn't ready to go. Like you see demonstration draft running cards, and there's guys with the long hair and all that. We just don't have them kind of boys here.
We got to be there. I really feel that. I feel that we have to be there.
Do you want?
Yeah. Well, I haven't been there. I haven't seen the country, but from what I've heard, we've got to be there. At a cost. There's a lot of people criticize you. They ask you I didn't want to be there, just like anybody else. I was just like any other guy. I don't want to go, but I had to go. Even when I was over there, there was a reason to be there, and I figured we got to stop them someplace. We might as well fight them right now.
Like John F. Kennedy said when, let's see, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. After I was in there for a while, that's the way I kind of dawned on it. About the only thing you can do is pay taxes. And serving your country for 2 years is very little to ask, in my opinion. And that's just the way I felt about it. And for these guys that run to school to get away from it, like I said before, I kind of frowned on them. They run around with long hair and they wear an army fatigue jacket or a pair of pants, something that is supposed to symbolize a soldier which stands for nothing that's except outstanding and defending his country just like his forefathers did. And he puts that on there with no intentions of doing anything. All he's doing is mocking the soldier in the first place. With all this protest that's going on now, my feeling is that as long as it goes on, there's not much chance of the war in Vietnam ending. As long as there's people over here that don't agree with the policy that's going, and it hurts. And there's a lot of good men dying, while them guys out there in the long hair,
The aftermath of war carries with it a quiet eloquence, a simple wisdom, that those who return and those who remain must live their lives in a way that will affirm the sacrifice of others. The unfulfilled promise of the dead, their dreams and aspirations for the future of their communities and their country, is the legacy of the living. In Beallsville, the commitment to begin building a world in which the perpetuation and flowering of life is as certain as its grief has already begun.
There was never nothing to do in this town, and Gene Wilson was the one that brought it up, and we all agreed that it was time that maybe since all this happened, it was time to do something for these kids now, before they left. Because like I told them up there, that this town's been the same way for the past 20 years as I can remember it. And the only thing that a child ever had in this town was a good school and a lot of people that respected you, and in my feeling that's not enough. Now that I'm married and living here, I've got kids of my own, and I want them to have a little better too. But we haven't got anything, and now we're hoping to work on a youth center, whether we can come through with anything or not. But we lack the money to go ahead. It makes you feel bad about things like that, not giving them anything, and then you lose them. It's no good. Bob's funeral was the largest one ever held here. And there must have been about 800 people here. And, well, all of us guys that were ever in and knew, and we all attended, but everything closed in town while it went on, and it was a real sad occurrence. I don't ever care to see it happen again. I know we talked about our park and things like this, getting money, how we could raise it, from a newspaper reporter was in, and he said, if something ever happens again, maybe you'll get some results, Well, we said at the committee meeting then if it's got to happen that way, we don't want anything. But this one guy made that remark that that's the only way anything happens, you know, is to keep ringing a bell. So if it's got to happen that way, we don't want it. Definitely don't. I don't care to see any more go.
On the morning of August 17th, Private First Class Daniel Kuhn, age 20, drove west through Beallsville, past the cemetery where 4 of his classmates lay buried, bound for a 12-month tour of duty in Vietnam.
Myself, I felt like I should go to the service because my dad's dad was in World War I. My dad was in World War II. And I don't know, you feel like you should go because your dad's was there.
It was 9:30 on a Sunday morning. The war in Vietnam went on. The people of Beallsville were on their way to church.
But sons of tycoons or sons of the farms, all the children ran from your arms, through fields of gold, through fields of wind. All of the children vanished too soon in towering waves and walls of flesh, among dying birds trembling with death. Sons of tycoons or sons of the farms, all of the children ran from your arms. So long ago, long, long ago, and sons of your sons or sons passing by, children we lost in lullabies, sons of true love or sons of regret, all the sons you cannot forget. Some build the road, some row the boats, some go to war, some never come home. Sons of your sons or sons passing by, children we lost in lullabies, so long ago.